And then I think that's it. So you ever feel like you have like a splinter or something and it's not that? It's just so weird. No, I think it's just a nerve ending that's decided to go.
Oh.
I don't think there's anything there at all.
Oh.
It's just weird.
It is.
I don't know why I think anything in samsara is weird. It's sort of samsara.
That's right. No surprise.
Yeah. I mean, who am I kidding? All right. So take a moment to kind of get your head in the right place, which would mean what?
On the shoulder.
Yeah, that would help. Well, and also apparently it's supposed to be in a straight line or something, which apparently I don't do at all. So just think about how amazing it is that we've met these teachings, which means that in this very life, we have this opportunity to create the cause, to be born in a pure land when we leave this life. And then we'll have nothing but Dharma and become awakened in that life. And how rare that is. I mean, that's really kind of outstanding. And we created the cause for that. And we're doing it with a motivation that isn't self-centered. It's more like family-centered, the family of sentient beings. Just really wanting all of us to have the experience of nirvana. All of us to be no longer bound by karma and afflictions. Because there's so much suffering in samsara. And all of it arises out of our confusion, our ignorance. Doesn't have to, we don't have to experience suffering at all. And there's no reason for it other than it's the effect of our ignorance. So it's not necessary. Existence does not equal existing with suffering. It's possible to have existence without suffering. And we don't have to please anybody in order to achieve that. We just need to remove our ignorance, recognize what actions have negative effects, what actions have positive effects, what being ethical means. What does it mean to have the mind that wishes to do no harm at all? So just set a good motivation. Wish that this benefit your mind and that it's going to ripple out to benefit other minds. And it will lead us quickly to enlightenment so that we can truly be of benefit to others. So let's recite the refuge prayer. I go for refuge until I'm enlightened to the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Supreme Assembly. By the merits I create through listening to the Dharma, may I become a Buddha in order to benefit all sentient beings. I go for refuge until I'm enlightened to the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Supreme Assembly. By the merits I create through listening to the Dharma, may I become a Buddha in order to benefit all sentient beings. I go for refuge until I'm enlightened to the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Supreme Assembly. By the merits I create through listening to the Dharma, may I become a Buddha in order to benefit all sentient beings. So try to just bring to mind, visualize a gathering of sentient beings. They don't have to be human. They can be all the beautiful fish hanging out at the coral reefs, you know, all the dogs at the dog park. I always picture, you know, the commercial with Coca-Cola about bringing the world together in harmony or something like that. You know, that really old commercial. I'm dating myself quite a lot, but that feeling. So we'll read the four measurables, all those sentient beings' behalf. May all sentient beings have happiness and the causes of happiness. May all sentient beings be free from suffering and the causes of suffering. May all sentient beings be inseparable from the happiness that is free from suffering. And may all sentient beings abide in equanimity, free from attachment for friends and hatred for enemies. Get some merit to recite the 7-line prayer. Kind of pause just a little bit after each line to kind of do, you know, visually imagine doing whatever we're saying. So reverently, I prostrate with my body, speech, and mind. Offering. I present clowns and every type of offering, actual and imagined. You literally can visualize anything. Like the other night, I was visualizing sunsets, because sunsets, the fact that we like sunsets, are the result of our good actions. You know, that pleasant feeling we have. So you can offer all those kind of things up. You know? Actually, you can offer everything, even all your negative. Just offer it up, please take it. It won't be negative for them. So confession. I declare all my negative actions accumulated since beginningless time. Just trying to generate a touch of regret. Sincere regret, our unskillfulness. All born out of confusion. And rejoicing and rejoice in the merit of all holy and ordinary beings. That's how wonderful it is. All the positive actions. And our request, please remain until the end of cyclic existence and turn the wheel of Dharma for living beings. I dedicate my own merits and those of all others to the great enlightenment. So this is sealing it, sealing our dedication, our merit, until they said that it doesn't exhaust until everybody's enlightened. So hopefully there'll be a very short time, but if not. So, all righty. So karma, how we doing with it? How we doing with samsara and nirvana and falling, into it, and all that kind of stuff? Any questions about it? This is the last night. Okay, maybe we should just have cookies. I'll have water.
Question, what do we do when people misinterpret karma as a system of judgment and punishment?
I don't know.
Mm.
It's the main thing. I mean, we can understand where that idea comes from,
Yes.
right? Anybody besides Brian and I?
No, we can understand. No.
Okay, so yeah, I mean, this idea that there's actually a creator that then judges us on our actions in this life, and there's judgment day, isn't there? So it's understandable that in our culture, this would be sort of a given response to it. So I think the fact that there's no creator, so that that comes up in discussions of karma. There's no creator, so there's no one out there judging our actions and relating it to cause and effect. Like you plant a seed for a mango tree, no matter what you do, it's not going to produce an apple tree. Not going to do it. So cause and effect has a definite relationship between the cause and the effect. Okay. And it's just the way it just is like that. We see it all the time. And so the idea that our experiences of suffering and pleasure are also related to a seed being planted, and that it's congruent, that we can't murder someone and have a positive result from that. It wouldn't, it wouldn't follow the laws of cause and effect. So it's getting someone to consider that even though, to me, the reason why it seems to have this moral thing is perhaps because all spiritual traditions have a grounding in something that is true. You know, that there's a reason we say killing is a bad idea. You know, not because somebody's judging it, but because we know that to be true. You know, the Buddhist explanation is because nobody wants to be killed. You know, even little tiny little insects don't want to be killed. They try to avoid it. You know? So by the simple reason of respecting the you know, the desires of others or the lives of others, you know, we don't want to kill. So and so the effect of those kinds of actions, the difference between, you know, I guess it's not really a difference. I guess if Judgment Day comes, I don't know when it comes, when you die.
Well, this depends on the sect and the tradition. Traditionally, it's Judgment Day at the end of the world.
Okay, that's what I've sort of had in my mind. Okay, so is that the world system, the end of the earth?
End of the earth.
Okay. All right.
But most traditions don't acknowledge that.
Yeah, well, whatever. So it's, you know, so in Buddhism, this isn't the only world, you know, that cause and effect operates also planetarily. So, yeah, like
Also, it's also the Buddhist belief in reincarnation is separate. Reincarnation and karma go hand in hand in understanding.
because again, it's cause and effect.
Because if we don't believe in reincarnation, we think, okay, at the end of our life, we're going to be judged, that we're going one way or the other, but it doesn't take it beyond that.
Yeah, but I don't think that's, I mean, I think that is one of the issues, but I think some people see karma as fate. And I think in Hinduism, it's kind of more like fate. So it's
Grasping, I guess, and embracing that we are responsible for everything. This lifetime and the past life, and we're responsible for the creation of it and to the exhaustion.
I think again, you want to just avoid words like that and just end up with, you know, cause and effect, that actions have results. They may not be immediate. In general, they're not immediate. It
That's
takes
another
some,
misconception a lot of people have that karma, it's like, and it means like,
okay, so we're not worried about their misconceptions. We're trying to get them on a correct conception, you know. So, you know, it's really about trying to explain cause and effect. And the only thing that really Buddhism is introducing to that is consciousness. That consciousness also has effects. The way we think also has effects. And we can use very easy examples that don't have moral overtones to it, with things like you can't plant an orchard without the idea of an orchard. That's not something that just happens without consciousness. You know, apple trees might occur without consciousness, but orchards aren't going to occur that way. So,
doesn't it also seem like there is a lot of karma that does manifest very quickly?
no, only if you misunderstand karma. Like what?
Well, like if you become a gangster and you kill people, chances are you're going to be killed very quickly.
But it's not absolute.
No, it's not.
Not even remotely. There are all sorts of criminal organizations that have been operating for, you know, many decades, and most of them don't go to jail. Most of them don't.
Yeah, well, some of them. I don't think.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, they get killed by each other.
Yeah. I mean, because there are things like the all-pervasive nature of suffering in samsara is that we're fragile, right? Somebody points a gun at you and shoots you, you're going to be hurt probably. You know, might be temporarily, it might be fatal to the body, you know. So I had a point. What do you think the point was?
It's instant karma. We could call it.
Yeah.
Karma.
Yeah. But that's more related to the fact that we have bodies that are vulnerable. You know, if we have bodies like tanks, you know, so there are all sorts of causes and conditions that are coming together there. So yes, but the fact is that you getting killed by someone else shooting you, you created the cause for that, which is separate from someone actually. Now, the fact that you're a gangster means that you are in the conditions, you are, you know, the condition is very good for that to happen because you're participating in activities that make it likely.
You create yourself in that vision.
Yeah, and you chose to, you know, and you end up born maybe into a crime family or blah, blah, blah. So the odds are all against you, who knows, you know, but others just want to be a wise guy, you know, because we all watch TV and they're cool, and, you know, and so, yeah. But the point is, it is not simple. When you throw consciousness into it, and it's actually not simple even without consciousness, because when you think about all the things that have to happen to come together for that seed to grow into a tree and then bear fruit, it's a lot of things. It's not just an action of planning it or good weather. I mean, it's a lot of things. The seed has to be, what is it called? Germinated, but it also has to be a good seed. A seed that can, you know,
Yes, be fertile.
that's not, yeah, yeah, okay, there we go. So, you know, so it's like, we tend to simplify it in our minds because we really, literally cannot imagine everything that comes together for any event to ripen. You know, only Buddhas can, because you need no ignorance to be able to do that. You know? Because it's not like for all of us to be in this room, it's all of our karmas, all those things in this entire lifetime and previous lives that created the cause for us, this particular group of people, to be in this room in Florida, beyond belief. So, you know, so it's really layered. I mean, you know, so this is why this idea of fault or guilt or something, it really kind of doesn't even make any sense, because there's so many layers, and we're talking about causes created since beginningless time. We can't even imagine. So the fact that, like, we stub our toe and it hurts is a result of our all-pervasive suffering. It's not like, okay, because we did an action in the past that caused a similar harm to getting a stubbed toe or similar pain as getting a stubbed toe, that's why you stub your toe in this life. No, it's because you have this fragile body and we're clumsy and not mindful and blah, blah, blah. And when we stub our toe, it hurts. So it's part of the all-pervasiveness conditioning, all-pervasive conditioning of, there's so many translations of this, I never can come up with like a complete, but it's, you know, being born human has physical attributes to it that make us vulnerable. Like the length of time it takes before you can be independent of your parents. Unlike other species.
It's getting longer.
Yes, it is getting longer. It's a degenerate time. So, anyway. So I think it's this idea of logical consequences of causes plus time. And it's the time factor that makes it so maddening. Clearly, if karma was instant, we'd all figured out pretty quickly that it's to our benefit, to be ethical, help each other, all those kinds of things, because we'd see the results right away. But it's not like that. And the result, what ripens for us in a particular moment is not the result of a particular action in that moment. All those, that's a condition for it to ripen, But it isn't the direct cause. The direct cause is in the past of your experience of it. And that's what's really tricky to get. That this is why when you eat something you like and it tastes good to you and it's a pleasant experience to you, that it has nothing to do with what you just ate. It has to do with it creating the cause for pleasantness. And it just happens to be taking the form of a pleasantness while eating. Now, why is that? I don't know. I'm not a Buddha. Maybe it's because you used to feed people who were hungry. Good food. I'm never going to get good food in future lives. I haven't created the cause in this life at all. So, but, so this is the thing. It's very hard, but we make the mistake. It is understandable we make this mistake. Things appear to us as having these inherent qualities, which is why when we have different taste, we're kind of surprised. Well, what do you mean you don't like cheesecake? Really? How can you not like cheesecake? But because we think it's in the cheesecake, the pleasantness, and it's not in the cheesecake. So if you think about people who are born in conditions of famine and maybe die in those conditions of famine, they never taste anything good to eat ever. Every time something bad happens, we're exhausting a seed. And so that's good news. That's why they say when someone kills you, you're finished with that negative seed, but they just started. They just planted a new one, to suffer in the future. But if our response to it isn't wholesome, we just plant another seed. Like gunfight in OK corral, everybody loses.
Yeah, it seems to me that exhausting negative karma doesn't get you very far, because there's an infinite amount of it.
Yeah. Yep.
So,
that's why we have to realize emptiness. But it is something, it helps us have a positive mind when something terrible ripens. Is just say, well, I'm done with that one. Now, the way we respond to it, though, can mean that we are just making a circle, we're just going to continue in and on.
or you can be very positive.
Yep. That's why the way we respond is the most important thing. Not what happens to us. It's the way we respond to what happens. Both pleasant and unpleasant. This is why with pleasant stuff, we want to still have a mind of equanimity and not immediately go to grasping and further, creating that chain of grasping and craving, It doesn't mean you don't enjoy that pleasant moment. It has nothing to do with that. You enjoy that, but then you don't create any story, expectation, longing, that kind of thing where you think, oh, I have to have this. And when negative stuff arises, if you respond with equanimity and deal with it, and if you can't deal with, if there's nothing to be done, you just live through it. This does not mean you don't take actions to make situations better. That's a solution. And even if you can't fix yours, you know, you might like, that's like me listening to Melinda Gates, you know, they're trying to raise the standard of living for women in Africa, you know, and what they're having to do to try to do that, you know, those are positive actions. That's helping others. And the nice thing about that is people like Melinda Gates, who have no shortage of resources. It's also, even though she's female, you know, she still sees that it just isn't just good fortune on her part. Oh, you know, I deserve this. I'm lucky, blah, blah, blah. No, she sees there's cause and effect. And she's benefiting from prior causes to her wealth now. And she's trying to help others have better conditions so they too can have better resources. You know, so she's not wasting her good karma that's ripened in this life. I'm sure she wastes some of it. You know. So it's really an immense idea. But I think when you look at it from the lens of cause and effect, and, you know, take smaller examples and then extrapolate out, it gets a little easier. Doesn't mean you'll agree with it, but it's, you know, I think it just gets, you know, you try to think of things that actually took a long time to go from the cause to the effect, you know, in your own life. You know, you know, it starts to seem at least possible. Yeah. I mean, think about the fact that this planet and all the things in this, I don't know, this universe, you know, science says, oh, it started with this little, and think about the amount of time between that moment and this moment. It's like all the things that had to happen for a planet, and then life on the planet, and then no life anymore on that planet. I mean, it's just unbelievable. But yet it happened. Now, somebody who believes that that's just the way it appears to us, but actually what happened was a creator God made this earth, you know, they're not going to go there. I mean, it wouldn't, they, you know, because they've already got an explanation, you know, to satisfy both the scientist view and their religious view. So I don't think you can help them understand this idea that it's not a judgment day type of thing. Although a lot of people I know who believe in God as a creator, you know, don't believe anyone goes to hell. You know, because God wouldn't have that happen. So if I were to believe in a God, that's the kind of God I believe in. I wouldn't believe in this one that sends people judges you on Judgment Day and all that kind of stuff. I think forgiveness would come up.
I thought too, is that God can condemn no one because he's one with everything.
Yeah, that would be self-defeating, wouldn't it?
Yes.
So yeah, so it's but I think it is hard. I mean, this idea of morals, I think morals come from this basis of truth, not that it's nobody else has to tell us that. You know? I mean, you think about all the non-virtues, or what do we call them in Christianity? The 10 Commandments or something. Sins, you know, there's a logic to them. It's not like they're just harsh or something. No, it's saying this is not a good idea.
All the same.
Yeah, they're exactly the same. I think there's a reason for that. I don't think it's arbitrariness on a bunch of, you know, self-righteous leaders in the past. I think it's just because, of course, you don't do that.
Well, some of them are harder to understand, like, you know, because like the non-virtues of the mind, you're not really, you know, you're not, as far as anybody can tell, you're not hurting. So it's interesting. Well,
But that's again, that it's cause and effect is not immediate.
I know, but again, you see the same ones in Christianity and Buddhism.
Yep.
And you know,
Because they lead to bad results.
don't covet, don't, you know, I mean, that's just the mind.
Yeah. But just a mind thing, mind is the most important thing. None of our actions come from anywhere except the way we think. We have it reversed. We think that somehow it's of course we do that. You know, I have a fist, so of course I'm going to swing it in somebody's face. No, it's not like that. There's nothing to do with that. Because, I mean, look, you know, why do human beings had to create weapons? Because we're not as big as the other animals on the planet. We don't have long claws, you know, all this kind of stuff. So because we have malice, we invent weapons that can even the score. You know, that comes from mind. It has nothing to do with their existence is from our mind. That's where it all starts. The fact that we think, the self-grasping, the fact that we think our survival trumps everything, you know? So it's okay for us to have peacekeeping armies. Like, that's not an oxymoron. Is that the right word? So anyway. So okay. But it's hard. I mean, these are things, you know, we can't, you know, people have to decide for themselves. We can't make people understand as much as we would like to.
I don't think I could make anybody understand because I don't understand it myself.
Yeah, well, there's that. It takes a while, doesn't it? And the fact that we can't know until we have realizations, you know, like they say that when you develop concentration, calm abiding, that single pointedness that you can hold your concentration long, you start to have clairvoyance and you can actually read other people's minds. And then you can also start remembering your past lives. So you know, slowly you develop abilities that will clue you in on the truth of these things. You know, again, this is why this is the hardest stage before you have those abilities, because you're just having to go on reasoning, and some of it you can't have any proof of through just reasoning either. Over time, though, to me, the law of cause and effect is the only thing that makes sense. It actually explains everything. I like it, so that's certainly my filter, better than the thought that suffering comes from random bad luck. I don't like that. You know, it just grates at me. That's just not fair.
Well, doesn't that depend too? I mean, the same bad thing happens to two people. One person, well, like people that go to prison for, long amounts of time, one person goes crazy over it. One person makes it into his monastery cave. It's
You think that's luck?
no, not that it's luck, but that it is. It's the way that you handle the situation. Is it?
That's what I'm
Is it
saying.
really bad?
Nothing is bad if you turn it into the path. That's one of the things we have to learn. We don't trust that until we have some proof of it. That's one of our problems is we want to go, well, I'll do that if you prove to me it's.
Is it possible to prove anything?
No, not until you're a Buddha. And Buddhists can't prove it to us because we don't believe them. So we have to do the work and have the realizations on our own, and then we can know. Right now, we can just use our reasoning, which is not bad. That's the beauty of a human rebirth is that we have a very sophisticated support for our mind. But there's no, to me, that's exactly, to me, cause and effect. Your example of the prisoners. That it's, if you have the habit to just cave with bad circumstance and just lose your mind over it, then you're going to suffer even more. So you're creating that from your habit. The good news is we don't just have bad habits, we also have good habits. So, people who meet teachers in this life. I mean, they don't have to be Buddhist teachers, but, realize, maybe I can turn this into something useful. Like people go into prison and then they teach others, they do a lot of help in prisons, so
It's like there's an easy way and a hard way.
I wouldn't say there's an easy way.
I mean, like listening to a teacher is easier than trial and error.
Well, it's smarter because trial and error hasn't helped us so far. It's like, I'm still stuck in samsara. Okay, I'm still making myself suffer. We all do things and we just kind of go, I know this isn't the smart thing to do. And we do it anyway from that, but I want it to be true. It's like, I really want goofing off to feel good. I want that to be true. It's not true, which just irritates me to no end. Because then I have to do something. I have inertia down. Okay, I'm looking for something in particular. Where is it? I couldn't find the headings because you have to click on something. I'm looking at stages leading to liberation and full awakening. I figure that's kind of a cheerful subject. Okay, I thought you might be interested. I don't know, this might be beside the point, but you know how we talk about once you realize emptiness, you become an Arya being, and then you're not stuck in samsara in the same way. You're reborn due to your prayers. So what happens as you're progressing along the grounds and you're removing the different layers of afflictions, you know, getting to more and more subtle afflictions. And then when you're on the 8th ground, you're completely liberated from samsara. You've removed all the afflictive obscurations. So you're liberated, but you still have the taint of all those bad habits on your mind stream, you know, imprints. And those you have to remove in order to become a Buddha, you know. So once you're an Arya, you take birth according to your prayers. You no longer experience birth, aging, sickness, or death under the power of afflictions and karma. So it's no longer the ripening of negative karma that causes these things. No, you can't go, no. In fact, you know you're not going to go back much earlier before you're an Arya. You know, it's again, realizations. You have a certain realization, and then you know that you can't fall. You're going to become enlightened. You're on, you know.
That must be nice.
Yeah. Again, this is the hard part.
I'll take it.
Yeah, I'll take it. No kidding. Except I'm not sure I want to do all the work that it takes to get there. So, you know, that's the thing. You get there through developing calm abiding, you know, your concentration, and then putting your mind on the things we need to analyze and realize. And in the meantime, all of our other actions need to be ethical, kind, patient, you know, to work on those habits. So it's a long to-do list, but it's doable. That's the nice thing. So by the force of their fervent, compassionate intentions and stainless altruistic prayers, they may choose to take birth in a particular family or country to benefit the beings there. When doing so, they appear to experience everything ordinary beings do, yet their experience is very different from ours because of the intensity of their realization of emptiness, which is and supported by bodhicitta. Because they have not yet eradicated all afflictive obscurations, these Arya Bodhisattvas are said to be in samsara, but not of samsara. They gain a mental body that arises from unpolluted karma, which is the intention to assume such a body. So again, it's prayers. It's because you want to. This body is not one entity with the mind, but it is said to be in the nature of mind because, like the mind, it's not made of atoms. It lacks physical impediment. It is unpolluted, free of physical pain, although until bodhisattvas attain the 8th ground, it's not free from the pervasive suffering of conditioning. So to benefit us ordinary beings, these Arya Bodhisattvas take or emanate a form similar to ours and show the aspect of sickness, aging, death, and so forth, but these bodies are not true suffering. This is why we use those phrases, showing the aspect of passing away, showing the aspect of diabetes, showing the aspect of a stroke, you know, when we're talking about teachers. So, if they manifest in the animal, hungry ghost, or hell realms to benefit sentient beings, they are not beings of that realm. They are merely assuming that appearance.
So they don't feel.
No. They don't suffer. This is, again, why this is the this is when it's difficult, you know. to keep practicing until we reach these states. You know, so, but once we do, it's easy peasy. That's the good news. It's not like you work really hard and then you have these realizations and you have to keep working quite so hard. No, it becomes natural. You know?
Like it's big.
Yeah. And it's just, yeah, exactly. Because you just, there's no doubt in your mind. There's no physical obstacles. Like that's what they talk about when, you know, when we talked about the different, this is a while ago, but the stages of meditation, you know, that, and when you reach karma blighting, one of the aspects of that, one of the effects is pliancy. Your mind and your body no longer give you any trouble at all. You can stay concentrated for 300 years if you want. There's no impediment from your body or your mind. You don't get bored. You don't need food.
I heard there's mental pliancy and physical pliancy.
Yeah, that's body and mind.
Yeah, so
So your mind won't cause you any problems, and your body won't cause you any problems. You have both. I think physical pliancy arises first. But don't quote me on that because but I think that's how I remember it. But I didn't memorize all my texts. So, okay. Some ordinary beings are born in pure land, such as Sukhavati, Amitabha's Buddha's pure land, as a result of special virtuous karma and sincere virtuous aspirations and prayers to take rebirth there. Birth in Amitabha's and Akshobhya's pure lands is not taken under the power of afflictions and karma, and it's not in the 12 links. So it's not part of that cycle. The bodies of ordinary beings born there are not true suffering because they're not born of polluted aggregates. Many beings born in those pure lands still have self-grasping and other afflictions. These do not arise in manifest form, which means they don't, you know, they're not affecting their conscious minds, you could say, I guess. They do not create karma for rebirth in unfortunate realms because they practice the path diligently, because it's easy. They no longer create karma for rebirth in samsara and attain full awakening in the Pure Land. So prayers to be reborn in Sukhavati are not a bad plan.
Let's do it.
So I'll never forget when a student, I was in Australia, and a student finally said, "Yeah, we talk about the precious human rebirth, precious human rebirth. Well, why aren't we praying for, you know, the Pure Land?" My teacher goes, "Oh yeah, that's a good idea." Don't confuse the two. So, but of course, we need usually, and absolutely, I don't think I actually have any doubt. You need a succession of good rebirths as humans in order to get to the point where you can be reborn in Sukhavati, you know, because you have to collect a lot of merit.
So is the King of Prayers a good meditation?
All of the good meditations. You just have to,
Not just, I mean, not just saying it as a prayer, but doing it as a.
well, yeah, that's what I mean. So, I mean, the one thing that's wonderful about our personal practices is we can just do parts. You read a couple of verses, you know, and you stay there. You try to really you make sure you understand what those verses are saying. So there's, in addition to the King of Prayers, there's a prayer called Prayer to be Reborn at Amitabha's Pure Land. It's lovely. So I think Lama Zopa wrote it. But yeah, so it's just like this. It's really good to read prayers slowly and like go, do I understand that sentence? but do I know what they're saying there? Because then it just goes in a deeper way, you know, when you realize, you know, like in Guru Puja, there's this Lamrim section, you know, it's like verse 84 through 115 or something, you know, and it's just lovely, but it goes through the whole path. And it's just, you just read that and you can use that as your Lamrim meditations. I mean, it's really good. So, and the key though is to allow it to go in where you can go, yeah, I know what that means, you know. And if you don't, I'm going to ask, you know, what are they referring to here? Because sometimes the jargon gets in the way, the translation gets in the way, but you know, but it's a way to make it, even though it seems maybe impractical or something, you know, because a lot of times, and rightly so, we get all caught up in, okay, but how will this help me today? You know, well, one way it helps us is really developing strong aspirational prayers that are skillful, you know. So instead of all the wishes we do, it's like, I wish I could go to the beach. I wish I could go to the mountain. I wish I could have chocolate cake. You know, we're thinking about, you know, oh, you know, may this create the cause, you know, that I have the language of my teachers. That's one of my big ones, since I can't pick up a language for anything. So, you know, but, you know, all that kind of stuff. So it's just, because once we start having realizations, our aspirational prayers are exactly the bridge for next life. That's the cause. So it becomes a superpower, you know, so it matters. And that's why we say prayers like Medicine Buddha, all the verses, because those were their prayers for what they would do when they became enlightened, who they would help, you know. So again, that creates the cause for them to have been born in places to help people who were experiencing that kind of suffering, so they could help. Make sense? Sort of, maybe. Anyway, I think it's good news. And just even imagining, what I love about reading the prayers of enlightened beings, you know, before they were enlightened or whatever, is just, it's incredible beings who have that kind of mind. You know, that's what they think about. That's how they think. Yeah, it's like being around Rinpoche. That was one of the wonderful things about being around Lama Zopa Rinpoche, is that he just so clearly spent every moment trying to think how he could benefit the people around him. I mean, it was just like, you know, yeah, it really is. When you think about how often self-grasping comes up for you, you know, or just the I, I'd like this, you know, and this is a person who you never saw that, never heard it. It was really quite remarkable, but it actually isn't remarkable. It's just
never heard him say I. You never heard?
No, his attendant said not once did Rinpoche ask for anything for himself, ever.
But I mean, did he mention I? He must have, right?
I'm not sure.
Okay.
I'd have to. I'm not sure. He said you a lot.
Okay.
This is going to happen to
He
you.
actually had a thing. Are you sitting on your eye or something like that?
Yeah. Oh, well, I have he talked about emptiness and bodhicitta were his two topics all the time. So, but it's like, read the eulogy that Venerable Rabbeinu wrote. It's in on the website, because he said, because Venerable Roger, a quote from is just this, you know, if Rinpoche, if he didn't put a cup of tea in front of Rinpoche, he would never have tea, because he never asked for anything. You know, that's a really nice energy to be around. Yeah. And it made Venerable Roger's job very difficult. Because, you know, poor Venerable Roger, there was one night at the end of Light of the Path retreat. So Rinpoche is supposed to go catch a plane. or at least drive the city where he's catching a plane, right? And he's having fun giving away all the offerings that were made to him, like the tangible offerings, like a statue of this or, whatever. And all those little stuffed animals so I'm surrounded by, that kind of thing. So he's standing there and he's using the gecko, a stuffed animal, the gecko from the Geico commercials, whatever,
Yeah.
and he's spinning them. And wherever he thinks the head's pointing, that's who gets the prize. So it's just, I don't know, there must have been 12 of us in the room. I don't know, I was there because I was the organizer for it, and so there were some nuns there that we, but there wasn't a lot of people. And Venerable Roger is literally holding suitcases, standing on the porch outside the door. The doors are open, but he's standing up going, Rinpoche. And Rinpoche's just laughing, spinning this thing, handing out these things. And he wasn't doing it for himself. It was just a way of showing some like joy and laughter for his students that were standing there and worked so hard. And it was just so silly and so much fun. It was really fun because he was, he was delighted.
He was playful.
He was very playful.
So approximately when do you think when do they usually find them, at what age?
What, the sixth Dalai Lama they found when he was 16? It's all on the merit of the students, So, and our strong prayers for it to happen. Yeah. So there's no, you can't worry about that. You just make prayers that it happens and that we identify the right person. And that's, and then we take his teaching. We don't ignore all the teachings he did. Because the Dharma is the teachings. The true refuge is the teachings. So I think Lama Zopa Rinpoche was born 2 years before the Dalai Lama died.
I met somebody a few months ago who happened to be that was in Central Park at the same time Dalai Lama was.
Yeah, that was a great teaching.
And anyhow, make a long story short, he was inside whatever, and he had knocked on the door for a men's room, and somebody was in there, and after like 15 minutes, he was, anyhow, a couple minutes after that, Dalai Lama comes out and he says, it took a little while to clean the bathroom. The detergent was there. Oh, wow. And that's what he did.
Yep.
So thinking about doing things for others,
Yeah.
that's like an incredible story.
Yeah.
At the Central Park, yeah.
But this is the thing, is that, they're trying to teach us that literally any action we do can bring us closer to enlightenment. It doesn't matter what it is. It's all about your mind. What is your mind thinking while you're doing that? So. And so this is why there are these habits, that are, like, remember she talks about bodhisattva attitude, and Gathas and Thich Nhat Hanh's tradition, you trying to think of these things like, may I be, I'm removing all my afflictions when you clean things, it's just a way of trying to always be thinking about something that, because what effect does that have? This is cause and effect. So what What kind of effect does doing those kinds of causes have? This is not rocket science.
I think it's like training your mind.
Yeah, it's just training the mind. And so if you're training the mind going, may this, be removing my afflictions, what are you thinking about?
Removing afflictions.
And what does that mean? You're thinking about the fact that I have states of mind that are not useful. And I want to eliminate them. So that means, say right after you've done that chore, or whatever, and you've been thinking that way, mind of impatience comes up. What is a possible response you'll have to it?
You can pause.
You may pause and go, boy, I don't want to follow that mind, because that's one of my afflictions I want to remove. Because most of the time we're operating in a fog and we don't worry about it. We just, because our habit is to actually do what we've always done. Some people have the habit of being impatient. Other people have the habit of being, generous, so it's just, it just depends, right? So if we're trying to train our mind, we use these words in our, our mental words, to help us change that habit to, like, oh, it is important how I'm thinking. It matters how I think. And so when these kind of thoughts come up, I want to try to remove that, it's just a tool. It's not as important as, well, it is as important, but we also have to we have to think about, why would I want to remove that habit? So that, because that's what helps when it's hard. When you really want to show this person that, I'm sorry, you're wrong. Or you're treating me badly or whatever. You really want to just make sure they know that that this is how it is, that you'll be able to slap yourself in the face and go, that's so wrong. That's just, you're mistaking actions that cause suffering for happiness. We have to get, we have to internalize that that even just momentary satisfaction of being able to say is suffering. It's it's never worth it. And that's overcoming our habit of thinking getting the last word in is best. Otherwise they'll take advantage of me in the future. The only person taking advantage of you is you. When you think that you've got to respond in some way that's going to harm you in the future. We can choose how we respond. We just have to practice it, because we have habits that, are so ingrained that they're immediate. So we need to practice other things to make that the more likely thing. And people like Rinpoche did that in past lives. He really practiced the mind that, we have to remember that these people are not magic. They're born of habit. It's cause and effect. It's not, we just didn't see all of it. Well, we do see examples of it. Just even in our ordinary lives, we see people who just have some habits that are just wonderful habits, and we just think, oh, I'd like to be a little more like that, And then other people, we go, oh, they're so Pollyanna, I can't stand it. Which you might want to recognize, that's an afflictive thought. So And I can highly recommend rewatching Pollyanna so you can see that the glad gain is very Buddhist, because it is not at all the way we use the term Pollyanna. You know, it's literally trying to take something onto the path. So it's very cool. All right. Thoughts?
Cal was trying to say something, she said something.
Carol, did you want to say anything?
Yeah, I had a question. I find it very difficult to maintain a mind of equanimity in the last few months, you know, because of world events. Because suddenly, the Buddhist teachings, I felt I was really absorbing them and making good progress, and then things happen, and then this identity that I have gets sucked in, or well, I allow it to. And it's almost as though like I lost my mind. And now I feel like I'm having to defend a group identity, an ethnic or religious identity that I didn't realize was such a core part of me. And I know that doing so, it just feels inconsistent and incompatible with the Buddhist teachings, you know, because
Yeah.
you would want to develop compassion for everyone and send your your best intentions and wishes for everyone. And at the very beginning of this whole conflict, I was able to do it, but then suddenly it just kind of fell away with things getting so polarized in this country.
Yeah.
And it's just a I don't have to tell anybody what's going on, right? It's very difficult for me to extricate myself now, even though I want to, because I feel I'm probably creating some negative karma by engaging even in, I'm pretty polite about my own way of expressing myself, but it is still an afflicted mind, right? It's still, anyway.
Well, we don't want to not have a voice, and there are times where discussing stuff is appropriate. I mean, we all need to, sometimes we don't have any opportunities, but other times we do, and so it's like, but it is so important to keep working on our own clarity, to be able to, because actions do matter, so it's like, what we don't want to do is equate people with the actions, so, and this is difficult to do because we have that mind of, other self, all that stuff, groups, we things in groups. But I think when the strong afflictive states arise, it's so important in those moments when you can, is to allow yourself to pause and really think about how you really wish all beings could be harmonious and be, and have wisdom. And because we don't have wisdom, this is the problem. And so wars break out. So, we still have, where all of our solutions seem to be around force, and so, and of course, when that's the case, the way you resolve things or put a stop to it is usually through force. I mean, this is, the cause and effect, creating the conditions. But being able to value your heritage or your culture or your group identity. I have a strong American identity when I'm in a different country. It's not nearly so strong here. But I discovered that when I travel to other places, I'm a little more, like, we're not all that bad kind of attitude. So, but we want to look at, we want to recognize, okay, that's arising either, we want to know, is it because we're the fear of genocide? Is it the fear of, there's some really, reasonable fears to have when wars are going on, but when we're not actually in it, we have more space to work with our response. And so that's the opportunity you have, Talis, that you're not in the zone of conflict or something, but you want to develop that clarity and the heart to be able to counter the anger or the fear or whatever arises. It's really not an easy job at all when people are being killed or threatened to be killed. It's like in the Trump trial today, like 2 jurors were dismissed because they felt, well, one was because she said, I'm kind of frightened. My personal identifications information's now out there, and it just frightened her. Fear is a very powerful force. So, but being able to kind of be gentle with yourself, don't see it as, I wasn't making the progress that I thought I had. Yes, you've made progress. Now the chips are down, and this is where it's really hard. And so, of course, it's going to take a lot more, and you may not succeed at all. And that's okay. We're not Buddhas. We have to be kind to ourselves, and yet we still need to take responsibility for the afflictions that arise. They're just kind of going, okay, I'm not kidding myself. This is not a good mind, So we try to minimize the harm we can do with that afflicted mind by not saying, afflictive things, and by not doing actions. And then if we do, when we try to generate genuine regret, we try to work it, and think, okay, I don't like having thought that. I don't like having said that, and try to keep working with it. Because this is the trap of samsara. We make all these things that happen real. We make them inherently existent. They appear to us that way, and then we grasp after them to be that way. What's hard is if you try to bring the Buddhist view into it, is that everybody who dies doesn't cease. None of them cease. So no matter what's happening, all those minds out there still exist. So our experience of aging, illness, and death is merely through the force of confusion. Nobody actually ceases. And sometimes we have to just kind of remember emptiness when we're dealing with situations that are impossible to fix, and yet are so horrible. We just need to remember that urgent need to grasp on is coming out of confusion, and it's gonna come. It's gonna come again. but the more we can remind ourselves, okay, this is also impermanent, and we can either keep making bigger messes, or if I can keep working on my afflictive mind so that, maybe I won't be there in the future. It's hard, Tom.
Yeah, thank you for that. reminder.
Yeah.
And it makes me
And
actually
it's,
go back and read, like some of these Tibetan, masters who spent time in Chinese prisons. And I mean, I know that that's a high standard, but it just makes me want to read their experiences because they were able to just practice compassion even under the harshest of circumstances, even when their people's identity was being repressed and destroyed. So,
Yeah.
as with Dalai Lama himself.
yeah, no, it's true. I think that's so valuable because at least then you have the example of the possibility of getting there. That it's, and that it's not easy, but these people thought it was really worthwhile doing, that they really wanted to be able to keep working with their minds and not lose their compassion and not lose their, their way on the path, but yes, that's a high standard, but it's, it's just a reminder. Yeah, I want to be like that, so it's just an aspiration. That's important. It's like, I mean, it's incredible the kind, like when we see someone do something that we just really admire, or just, it is wonderful that we have that feeling, that we can be in awe of good qualities, that says a lot about the direction we want to go. That we even see that is admirable, because we also know people who are not there yet, they think, oh, poor thing, saying, being taken advantage of, blah, 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 so anything that we can do to inspire us. And I think that during those times, it's really important to read a lot of Dharma. I mean, it didn't be, it's because we keep reminding, because the world is screaming samsara. It's just all afflictions. And it's really hard to counter that, but we can. It's just a little bit of time. So I don't know. It's hard. These are hard times, but degenerate times are like this, so. So we can say prayers. This is the kind of thing when we say prayers, it's really important. And again, this is that aspirational prayer type of thing that we think in our minds when we're setting intentions. Oh, may this help me internalize the teachings. May this help me, be able to come from that place that exists within me, to be better, not to grasp so hard. So it's the more we do that from a heartfelt place, the more power our prayers have, the more power our words have, our thoughts have, all that stuff. It's letting ourselves sit with that, like you're in a Hallmark card or something. We want to allow ourselves to have that, what non-spiritual people would probably consider unrealistic, expectations of what we're capable of. But I think they're wrong. Keep working on that. So, it's, well, anyway, I just find it just amazing how wonderful it is that we can, the good thing about things like discovering that we have a strong personal identity is one part of it that comes from is that, that we care about people enough to hate the harm that's being done to them. We just need to understand that hating people doing the harm is off track. That it's, yeah, we want them to be free of their afflictions. So they would never do that harm. So it's just, that's a process. And you can see in situations how it is this back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. You know, sometimes you're in power and then you're not. Then you're trying to take it. Okay.
Even though it is hard, but I find for me, there's positive reinforcement constantly.
That's good, but that's a habit.
That doesn't, it's not a matter of being hard.
That's a habit you develop, though.
Changing.
Yeah, and that's a habit you're developing. So having compassion for people who aren't there yet is really important. You know, what becomes easier for you is from your work and you're having the experience of the results, but not everybody can do it at this point, you know, so it's so important to, the only way what I'm reacting to is this sense of it's, you know, that you're experiencing the ease of having this constant positive reinforcement around you. You know, most people don't. So rejoice that you have it, because that's the result of effort. Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, and that's a good habit to have. We just need to remember that it's not so easy for, you know, for any of us. Otherwise we'd be out of here already. And we're not. So, I mean, you might be, I don't know. I know that wasn't your point, but huh?
It'll be eons.
No, don't do that. Don't do, you don't know where karma will ripen. And how you'll just zip to the front of the line. Not that there's a line. So, but so really rejoice in, okay, that's not working. Why? Here we go. Golly gee whiz. So,
Jiminy Cricket.
yeah, Jiminy Cricket. I have a good friend who has very good habits about cursing because she doesn't curse. And so she has these wonderful expressions that are just like, where'd you come up with that? One of them is dog's breath. Oh, dog's breath.
Oh my God.
But it's great. Great. So, all right. So take a second to just feel good about your interest, your curiosity, your efforts trying to understand this stuff, your regret when you don't get it, when you don't do it, you know, and you're just kind of going, I know that, you know, that's a good thing that we notice when our afflictions arise. I mean, that's the only way we're going to get anywhere is being able to recognize, oops, that's not it. So then we have, that gives us that opportunity to work on it. So, you know, it's truly wonderful. And just, we want to keep creating the cause to meet these kind of teachings. We want to, you know, use our good conditions in the most effective way possible, you know, while we have them, you know, and that will help us create causes to do it again, you know. So that's all good news. And so we want to keep that mind that's always thinking about, you know, but this isn't just about me. This is about all sentient beings. So we share our merits, so we give it away. Due to the merits of these virtuous actions, may I quickly attain the state of a Guru Buddha and lead all living beings without exception into that enlightened state. May the supreme jewel bodhicitta that has not arisen arise and grow, and may that which has arisen not diminish, but increase more and more. Just as the brave Manjushri and Samantabhadra too realize things as they are, I too dedicate all these merits in the best way, that I may follow their perfect example. I dedicate all these roots of virtue with the dedication praised as the best, by the victorious ones thus gone of the 3 times, so I might perform good works. I dedicate whatever virtues I have ever collected for the benefit of the teachings of all sentient beings, and in particular for the essential teachings of perfect, pure Lozan Drapa to shine forever. Because of all the merits of the 3 times created by me and all the Buddhas, Bodhisattvas, and other sentient beings, may there be no wars, famines, disease, quarreling, fighting, or unhappy minds. May there be great prosperity, and may everything needed be easily obtained. May all the human beings in the world be guided by spiritual leaders teaching only Dharma, and may everyone enjoy the happiness of Dharma. May everyone have perfect conditions and have only compassion and love for each other in their mind streams. And may they only benefit and never harm each other. So keep in mind all the people who've asked us to pray for them. You know, may our merits help them, help their well-being, eliminate their suffering. The long life of His Holiness. In the land encircled by snow mountains, you are the source of all happiness and good. All powerful Chenrei Zig Tenzin Gyatso, please remain until samsara ends. Rinpoche, peerless teacher and assembly of the children of the victorious ones, Shravakas and Pratyeka Buddhas, victorious Lozan father and sons, along with the lineage masters, all the objects of refuge of infinite lands, please bestow the virtue and goodness of accomplishing this prayer here and now, holding and spreading the Muni's precious and complete teachings through explanation and practice. You wore the armor of patience that is never discouraged. Incomparable Venerable Guru, to you I make request. While striving single pointedly for the sake of the victorious one's teachings, the sole gateway through which all benefit and happiness emerge, and for mother living beings, you suddenly departed to peace. What a great loss. Nevertheless, through the undeceiving truth of the blessings of the ocean of the 3 jewels, and the great waves of bodhicitta of the children of the victorious ones, may the smile of a reincarnation swiftly beam in glory for fortunate disciples. Yay, team. So,